Welcome back to Straight Facts. What an action-packed night we have got in store for you. A new Chelsea bid has been made. It's reported as very close to Jules Kounde joining, but there are some contrary reports as well that are suggesting that maybe, just maybe, Barca, after they've agreed a deal, could take the player away from Chelsea Football Club. We're talking about that. Neymar being offered to Manchester City, a new bid from Man United for Antony, and what is happening with Youri Tielemans. We're also going to take a little bit of a little pit stop on the preseason games as well. I'm joined as ever by Jessica Black. How are you?
I'm good. I still noticed that like the intro says just Terry and Lee. Straight Facts is just
it's got to be fixed. Don't worry about it. It's got to be fixed. It's all good.
I am worried about it. It's very offensive.
You'll get added one day when you like cut the grade. Like when you get to Lee's level, then
yeah, Lee. I know he does better numbers than me, so fair enough, but I would still like my own intro.
No, there's just gonna be one Straight Facts intro made for next season. It's just gonna be everybody in one, so unique, generic intro. That's it.
Like it was like Terry and Lee. Oh, Terry and Lee. I'm like, oh, this.
You see these people. It's cool. It's. But how are you though? Aside from,
I'm good. I can't complain. Arsenal doing good in preseason. All or nothing out. Spoiler alert. It's nothing, but we move, so I'm feeling good. What about you? I know you're a little gassed these days.
Listen, we're going to talk Man United a little bit more a bit later, but I'm happy with the early signs of what I'm seeing. Happy.
I think that's an understatement.
Very happy, and what I'm loving, what I'm loving about how happy I am with the very early signs of positivity is that the mushrooms and the rivals are rattled. They're rattled pink.
Are they?
Of course they are. Of course they are. Whenever you get laughed at for being happy about your team playing nice football, it's because people are rattled. That's the only reason for it.
Oh, that's not what they were telling me last season. Well,
there's a difference, though. But we'll get onto that a little bit later, people. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
I want to start with the big transfer story that's circulating. I want to break this down for the viewers. So, first of all, today, Gerard Romero stated that Barcelona had reached a full agreement with Jules Kounde for a 4-year deal. Now, this was announced, and Chelsea fans have kind of got into a bit of panic mode. We're going to miss out. It's going to be Rafinha 2.0. And you kind of had that echoed by Fabrizio Romano that said Chelsea are worried about it. What's then come out since is on a Radio Sevilla, they've said that Chelsea are very close to getting this done. With the player. A deal could be done today, they stated. Barca have not made any offers. On top of that, you've had here from eSport 3 that Chelsea have made an offer of 60 million euros, which is higher than Barca's offer. So maybe Barca have made an offer there, and they're close to reaching an agreement. And just before we went live, so we didn't have the graphics made, Simon Phillips has put out an article saying that Chelsea are close to agreeing a fee close to 51 million, which very much echoes what the E3 Sports have put out, and stated that as of right now, no offer from Barcelona. Kounde is open to both teams and has previously agreed terms with Chelsea. So there's lots of stories around this circulating. Question I've got for you first, before we speak about the player, how do you see this one going, Jay? Because both clubs are in. Both clubs have seemingly agreed personal terms. How do you see this one ending?
I mean, I don't think, from Chelsea's perspective, like it's never a good feeling to have like true interest in a player and your club is ready to pull the trigger and all the reports include another team. That's something I always look for. If Spanish media is saying, oh, Chelsea's about to reach an agreement, blah, blah, blah. Barcelona haven't done blah, blah, blah. It feels more like the media is trying to rush Barcelona into making an offer. And that's never a good sign. Chelsea you know, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be looking at it and feeling like, are they using our interest in Kounde to try to hurry Barcelona up into making a bid? Very similarly to like what happened with Rafinha and what happens a lot of times in a transfer window. You know, like you already said, players can um, agree personal terms with many clubs. The original interest for Kounde was, you know, over like a year ago. He was supposed to have been a Chelsea player already. And once Barcelona became more interested in him, that seemed to be his more likely destination. So if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be worried about that, because when all the reports include another team, you know, it stinks of like, oh, they're trying to hurry them up, you know. But again, none of us really understand what's going on with Barcelona's finances, you know, and what's actually their priorities in the window. We thought that they would only go for Rafinha and Dembele, and you know, they ended up with both. You know, so maybe their priorities are shifting. Maybe Kounde has kind of fell further down the list, and Chelsea has seen that as an opportunity to capitalize. The last thing that Chelsea really need, though, is Kounde waiting around for Barcelona to make a bid. You know, they have other options that they can go for. So yeah, I think that you know, my feeling on this is that they're just trying to hurry Barcelona into making a more substantial offer, and Chelsea should be wary of that.
Listen, I'll come on to Barca in a minute. I think this window has been a beautiful thing. It's opened so many eyes. We had some great journalists really emerged over the last few months. Ben Jacob being one of them. You got Fraser Fletcher's another, who they don't do the club PR. They don't toe the party line. They tell you how things are, and you get that. You know they're doing this by the way people respond to their tweets. They go, "But your tweets contradict themselves." And I love watching Ben reply. And it's like, well, how? He goes, well, you've said that Barca could come in and take him away, but that he's looking for a house in London. That doesn't make sense. Well, it does, because essentially Jules Kounde has not decided yet exactly where he wants to go. Personal terms being agreed doesn't mean he will sign for that football club. Ben Jacobs sat on this show and took us through that personal terms, by the way, can mean a different thing to player A than they do to player B. Personal terms for player A might be my salary, the car you rent me, the house you put me in, and the job you give to my dad. For somebody else, it could be all those things. Plus, well, we need to look at the schools that are there for my children. I need to make sure that my wife's job, or you know, and what she does for a living is transferable. And it could be all types of other things that then get factored into this. And I think that, of course, Chelsea want to get this deal closed off, and Chelsea are in this race. And according to a lot of people close to it, there's a belief that they are winning this race. And I think that Chelsea have got a tremendous chance of getting this deal done. Equally, though, am I going to be shocked if Barcelona pull this off? No. They have got money. Whether people like it or not, they've sold off these assets, they've sold off their TV rights, and they've got money. Now, there's still kind of rumor circulating they can't register these players yet until certain people have gone. They will sell people, whether it's De Jong, whether it's Memphis, whether it's a plethora of younger players. People will leave and they will balance a bit. I can't imagine now the people doing the maths on the people they're signing are going to do it to a point where it can't be registered. They'll find a way to get it done, right? The accountants are good at doing this type of thing. But Barcelona, the way they're operating, and everyone's kind of laughing at them, but the way I'm reflecting on looking at Barca now is they're just behaving like an absolutely massive giant club that's still very attractive. They are not allowing themselves to spend 9, 10, 15, 20 years in a mess. They're saying, listen, we messed up as a club. We had some people running the club poorly. We fell from grace. We had a year where we nearly fell out of the Champions League, and we went into the Europa, and it was, this time last year, in the first 3 or 4 months of last season, Barca looked doomed. But then Johan Cruyff, son, comes in with a number of others, and they start running the club properly. It's very basic how you run a football club. You let football people with brains make footballing decisions, and you get the best in business commercially to work together, and you put the football as the priority, because if you prioritize the football, the commerciality follows. Then with your money and with your name, you sign quality players, and of course you need a good manager to bring this all together, and it's so quick and easy to turn things around. The way, I'm not trying to dig out Man United and Arsenal here. The way we've spent years trying to get to a point where Barca are almost finding themselves back within a year is because I don't know why we didn't do it this way. and more so my football club than any other. So I'm looking at Barca right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled these deals off. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. However, I kind of look at the I look at the journalists that are backing Chelsea on this, and I think to myself, I trust you. But then I look at the individuals like Gerard Romero that I also trust and think they're backing Barca. So it's so hard to know which way it's going. And I am going to sit on the fence here. I can see Rafinha 2.0. I can, but I can also see Chelsea getting him. And I think at the end of the day, both clubs will eventually get a bid accepted, either verbally or officially. I don't really care for which. And then the player's going to have to decide which is the best club for me right now in my career. And listen, you can flip a coin for who he's going to pick, but this is one of the best races. I mean, for me, it's been one of the best transfer windows ever. And this individual race is such an interesting one for me. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about it in terms of what way it's going to go and how it's going to end up. A comment here says, is it the president and the board, Terry? They all love football. Listen, you don't need to understand football to run a football club well. You just need to delegate and employ people that know how to run a football club. It isn't hard. You know, if I had the money to, and I hired Gordon Ramsay to run my restaurant would be a success. If I didn't want Gordon Ramsay and I thought I could do it myself, I've never run a restaurant, never even cooked food for more than like 2 or 3 people at a time. I'm going to go and run a restaurant that seats 100 people. I'm going to fail. But if I bring in a restaurant manager and a chef who have worked at a high level and have got a great CV, and I delegate responsibility to them, they'll make me money. That's how you do it. And Man United haven't been run that way, and Barca are doing it perfectly. Now we've got some super chats here that says Simon Phillips is saying Kounde is nearly done and Chelsea are leading the race, is what Nathaniel says. Absolutely. We've actually got that tweet here. I didn't put it on the screen. Here it is from Simon Phillips, who has stated that so people can see. Simon Phillips got a meeting with him tomorrow, actually. So Chelsea fans, keep your eye out for what's happening with the Football Terrace, Gimme Sport, and Simon Phillips. Another one here that says, I think the fact that we have Koulibaly is a big enticing factor for Kounde to come and learn from him. Also, the fact that we disrespected him is another we'll see. Yeah, how do you see that element playing out? They've got Koulibaly, but then he was their number one target. They tried to get De Ligt, and De Ligt said no, and now they're kind of going back to Kounde. Do you think that could play a factor?
No, like, not really. I think that, in the end of the day, I think players kind of understand how things work. I don't think that unless you're just really disrespectful to a player, I don't think changing your direction a little bit and looking at other targets is necessarily disrespectful. You don't really owe them anything, right? You have to do what's best for them. And ultimately, they're going to do what's best for themselves and their families. So if it's best for Kounde to be, at Chelsea, which by all accounts, it did look like last summer he was desperate to go there. I know I saw reports that he was like devastated that he didn't get to go there. So, in the end of the day, if Chelsea decide to prioritize him now, I would imagine that if the package is good, he feels like he's going to win trophies, he's guaranteed a certain amount of playing time. Those things are more important than, oh my gosh, did they 100% prioritize me? I do think that it could be a factor, but do I think it'll be a factor now? No. Chelsea is a big club. They have multiple players that they could go after. And, you weren't the number one option, so it is what it is,
I hear you on that there. I will save some of the super chats if they're not relevant to the topic that we're on. I kind of save them. So if you think I'm ignoring them, I'm not. If you don't know who President Laporta, you will learn this transfer window. A sleeping giant has woken up. Listen, he is what he is, Laporta. He's a bit of a BSer. He's a bit of a bullshitter. He says a lot of things publicly that he doesn't mean. And it's the irony in it. I've got a video dropping later that's all about stop taking managers and owners and even agents sometimes literally with everything they say. Oh, that word means something different to me that it might mean to him. Like, read between the lines and use your brain on things, But Laporta and Barca are already back. They will be competitive next year in every single competition. When you've got Rafinha, Dembele, Lewandowski, De Ligt at the back, the Gavi, Pedri, Kesse coming into your team, potentially even keeping, if they keep, they're either going to keep Frenkie de Jong or they're going to buy Bernardo Silva. They are going to be serious next year. Don't write them off, and people can scoff at them all they want, but they're serious again within a year of falling off, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Barcelona are one of the biggest, so at the end of the day, if they're ran correctly, they'll do well. And so I'm interested to see how they look next season. Even towards the back end of last season, they started to look better. It really wasn't that long for them to start looking better.
Yeah.
And Xavi's doing a good job. But I guess you know, from your perspective, like just going back into like the Kounde situation, where do you kind of rank him in terms of like center backs? Like, do you think he's a good player? Do you think Chelsea can do better? I think when they thought that they weren't going to get him, all of a sudden Kounde wasn't that great of an option. De Ligt was better. Then De Ligt didn't come, and now Koulibaly is better. So from like a neutral perspective, where do you kind of see Kounde in the list of center backs per se?
Kounde is not as good as De Ligt. I'm not going to change my stance on that, but he's still very, very good. And this is where Chelsea fans have not got to be polarized. Messi is better than Neymar, but that doesn't make Neymar a bad football player. Ronaldo is better than Messi, but it doesn't make Messi a bad football player at their peaks. So he is still a very, very talented young player. And interestingly, a lot of fan theory is, they disrespected Kounde. They went for another player. No, this bullshit. I'm sorry to say that word, but it's BS. That's not what I'm saying. Sorry, on YouTube and on the radio. BS. The way Chelsea are behaving is how every club behaves. But they're just not putting out the PR spin and nonsense to cover it up. When people are, clubs are working in silence, they are and they're not. In the football industry, agents know who clubs are talking to. It's whether or not that agent wants to go to the media or not. If Liverpool turn around to an agent and say, you go to the media, we'll pull this deal, we want it to be done in silent, the agent will respect that. If the agent's like it's told he can do what he wants, speak to the media, then he'll do it as well. What Chelsea did by trying to go and get De Ligt is very normal and very natural. A better quality player becomes available on the market, and they tried to get him. Jules Kounde, at the same time, while he's been talking to Chelsea, do you think he wouldn't have changed his mind if, in his eyes, a more attractive club would have come along at some point? Both parties do it to each other. This weird loyalty nonsense that football fans have developed. Footballers have got to be loyal to clubs. Clubs are more disloyal than players. Look at all the players Arsenal want to get rid of this summer. Where's the loyalty to them? Where's the loyalty to a man like Maitland-Niles, who's been working hard since he was 7 years old at your football club? Where's the loyalty? There ain't none because he ain't good enough. None of you care. Do you know what I mean? But if you like the player and you want him to stay, we all care about loyalty. And I think he's a brilliant player. I don't think Chelsea going for De Ligt is going to be a decisive factor in this because Kounde's hasn't even been a primary target for Barcelona this summer. He's someone that they have right down near the low level pecking order anyway. So I think he's a quality player. I think he improves Chelsea. And we spoke about this the last few days, but if you throw Kimpembe in with Koulibaly and with Jules Kounde with a bit of Thiago Silva, on paper, best defense in the league. With their fullbacks as well, best defense in the league on paper. It's got to be put together and made to work, but there ain't a defense in the league with as much quality on the ball, size, strength, power, and athleticism, and overall footballing quality as Chelsea's whole defensive unit. If they sign those players, it'll be phenomenal, really phenomenal.
I don't know about all that, but you're alone on that island.
Tell me whose defensive unit is like better than is as good. Or I'm talking on paper here. We haven't seen him kick a ball yet, but I mean Liverpool's is pretty good. We know that.
It's not pretty good. It's the one like.
Yeah, but Liverpool have
Virgil van Dijk, Matip,
they got five.
Konate.
Yeah, okay.
That's bomb, like right there. Like that's right there. That's three bomb choices. Then you have Andy Robertson on an island all by himself for left backs. The only person that maybe gets close is Cancelo.
Maybe Liverpool. But I think overall, I just think it is. I think it's got everything you would need it to have, and we'll see. But I said on paper, we have to see if it works. But it's a real interesting one. I wanted to ask you about Chelsea as well. Do you think Chelsea are having a better window than Arsenal?
No, not necessarily. I think, people may rate Koulibaly and Raheem Sterling more than they rate Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, and Fabio Vieira, which is fair enough. I think Raheem Sterling is, one of the best wingers that there's been in like the last couple of years, so I completely get that. Koulibaly comes with kind of like a urban legend type of feel to him, somebody that people know about, has been known to be really, really good. So I think I get that, but we are addressing a lot of the issues that we've had. Getting a striker was super important for us. And so I think we're a little bit closer to, figuring out the positions that needed to be addressed than Chelsea, even though maybe the quality of the players that Chelsea has brought in may seem better. So, bringing in Gabriel Jesus was super important, making sure that we underpin Kieran Tierney with another left back, that can also play midfield. That's important for us. And, Fabio Vieira covers a lot of positions for us. So I think we're closer to figuring out, or filling those holes. But, the players that Chelsea are bringing in are excellent quality. So, I still think we're having a better window. But Chelsea could come up with another 2 players or so, and then it looks, speculative. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I look at Arsenal had a phenomenal window, and I'm not going to suddenly change my mind about that to banter. That's just not my way. I find that kind of banter boring. People changing their direction every 5 minutes, slagging their own team up every 5 minutes and just praising everybody else's so the rival fans love and stay with you. It's a very, very good tactic for social media, but one that I just can't take the knee for that. Arsenal have had a very good window, and obviously you've signed Zinchenko, who I think is an excellent player. You've signed Fabio Vieira. I don't know much about. What I've read is good. I think Gabriel Jesus is very good and underrated. I still feel with Arsenal, it's that you get that midfielder now, and there's still this talk around whether or not you will or you won't sign Youri Tielemans. And I kind of look at the situation and think to myself, I don't quite understand it. I mean, I saw this tweet earlier on today, and I don't really know who this guy is. A lot of people I know follow him, talking about how all signs point to it. The personal terms have been agreed. Arsenal are really going to push on forward with this deal. But I just don't know. I think Arsenal need that additional midfielder, and you've got the Youri Tielemans money and the Rafinha money seemingly there, which is what collectively anywhere between 80 to 90 million pounds. Like, are you expecting that to still be spent somewhere in that region, to still be spent on players?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I do think that, I had a long stream about the midfield because it's definitely a position that I do think a lot of Arsenal fans are prioritizing even over an attacker. Now, I do think you have to get both or the window is a dud. You have to get a midfielder and an attacker. But the midfielder situation, I do think, is somewhat of a game. David Ornstein has said that we may need to sell a player. Nobody's really said that our interest is gone. Now Leicester are coming out with this stuff about maybe him potentially staying. So for me, it looks a lot like, Arsenal are trying to play the long game, in terms of trying to get the price down as much as possible with Youri Tielemans. We also may need to sell a player or something like that, or at least sell a midfielder. We have Lucas Torreira back. We also have Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Both of them kind of play in midfield. So maybe one of them have to go in order for us to open up that spot in the team, because we definitely have too many players in that roster. But, with Tielemans, I do think that, like, if he were to stay at Leicester and we were not to get a midfielder, it would smell. Like, it really would. I'd be like, oof, that's just not, we don't have enough midfielders or enough quality in midfield. We have bodies, but we don't have enough quality. So I'd like to see it get done. But I do think Arsenal are saving quite a bit of money for an attacker. Like, that has been, reported by, like, at least Fabrizio Romano is saying that he thinks that we'll go after an attacker first. And then maybe depending on who we go after will, make a difference in terms of if we go after Youri Tielemans or not, depending on how much money is left. Is that the way I'd prioritize things? Probably not. But when you look at our attack and you look at our midfield, I can see where Arsenal is probably looking at, like, okay, you have Gabriel Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Nketiah versus, Partey, Xhaka, Vieira, Odegaard, now Zinchenko. which position looks like it needs more reinforcement. On paper, it looks like attack, but for a lot of Arsenal fans, it's definitely midfield for obvious reasons.
Yeah, when Fabrizio said you'll go for a winger then a midfielder, that makes sense because you called the interest on Youri Tielemans to try and buy Rafinha. So it would make chronological sense to go for another wide player. I do think what's interesting as well, though, with Arsenal, and all of our clubs can have stings in the towels in a window. It's another day where Gabriel, I always forget how to pronounce his surname, your centre back, how
Magalhaes.
yeah, I've really struggled. How he, again linked with the move away. Not Arsenal wanting to sell or him wanting to leave, but clubs wanting to buy him. And I kind of, this is, again, I think like this, and I know Arsenal fans don't like the conversation. I've noticed with the transfer window, so with Terry, just do transfers that are positive for the top six fan bases, and they don't even like listening to them anymore. But there is also this element of if a giant club comes in with a giant offer for him as a centre back, that could be an area that you then need to go and work on. You've been linked to some other centre backs out there as well. But barring that happening, you've got to go for a winger and you've got to go for a midfielder because you've basically, your club's told the fans the money's there. And we know that Youri Tielemans has been a massive target. Paqueta is also available. So the two main targets are there. They're buyable. There's no reason not to buy them. When it comes to that inside forward, though, that's the big question. Like, we've got him on the thumb now again because it's another day where more talk across social media is Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané. So I wanted to ask you your opinion. Can you see Arsenal pulling off a deal for the Bayern winger, essentially?
I haven't seen not one reliable report on this yet. I've seen Arsenal are one of many clubs that are monitoring the situation, but I haven't really seen anything concrete. I do think, Arsenal fans want to see a player of that quality come in. We saw what happened with Gnabry. It was very much like that's the player we should go after because they're seemingly available. Just because somebody's available in our eyesight doesn't mean they're actually available to us. And so with Leroy Sané, the only thing that I really saw was that his agent offered him to Real Madrid. He may not be happy there, but I don't necessarily think one equals another, that if somebody's not happy, that automatically means that they end up at Arsenal. So do I think we have the money, to get something like that done? Probably. Do I think we can pull it off? Probably not. I think Leroy Sané may just be a little bit out of our league at the moment. But when I look at the market in terms of wingers / attackers, it's not great. You had Gnabry, he re-signed. Leroy Sané looks like he might be available. He might be out of our league. So, like, who else is actually out there that's going to make that type of difference? That's why I was big about pushing for Rafinha, is that I thought he could step straight in and make a difference. The last thing you want to do is spend 30, 40 million on a guy that's not going to be able to get in the team over Martinelli. So it's a strange situation. People are assuming that there's a winger target that none of us really know about. I just hope it's somebody that, who could it possibly be? We all know who's out there. Who could it possibly be?
Well,
Nobody knows. It's
do you know
weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of clubs do this where their fans go, I think it's like a secret unknown player. What you mean is you can't think who it could be. So you're just saying it's a secret. I mean, there's great talented, not great yet, great talent at Crystal Palace, as an example. There's some of the lads there, the essays of this world, who could be good. There's young talent around. There's Antony of Ajax that we're going to talk about later, or we might as well now, that Man United are looking at, and there's reports today of a new bid for him, maybe including Ethan Laird. And I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the reports have come out from credible sources that Ethan Laird is wanted, and then other outlets have gone with, Man United could make an offer plus the player. Well, KJ's crying KJ be crying at this news because he loves Ethan Laird. I mean, he's never watched Ethan Laird play. Ignores all the problems that he's got and injury concerns, but just loves him. It's just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm sad at the thought, KJ said backstage. But yeah, look, I think that's the thing. If there isn't someone of ample quality, what you don't want to do as Arsenal is spend 70 million on Pepe 2.0. However, if the money's there, there are other areas of your team that you could then spend that money on. And I think that I've made that point with Man United, and I'll keep that energy for other clubs. It isn't a case of, oh, we're gonna. I get the notion of, oh, if we've got to wait. Say Ten Hag says, oh, we're gonna wait a year and then we'll get De Jong. I'm happy with that as long as that money we'd have spent on him we spend on another position. This is hypothetical based on who we've been linked to, but say we then went and spent that money on a cross between Antony and or Hakimi to improve those areas. You'd go, well, we've still improved with a top class player, a problem area within our team. I'm happy with that. Where it becomes contentious is when teams go, we're going to save that money until later, and then you don't spend it on anybody. Because when a year's time, there'd be more money to spend on other players. So spend some now. It's okay if it's Liverpool or your City and your squad's stacked and it's in a great position and you're literally waiting on that. You're waiting on Jude Bellingham. Liverpool can wait for Jude Bellingham to a degree. They're not going to win the league without him this year, I don't think, because City have done so well. But they can afford to wait to a degree, because how much money do they really need to spend elsewhere in their team? Their team's really good. When you're Man United, when you're Arsenal, it's like, listen, we've got problems in 2 or 3 areas that could be improved. Let's spend some goddamn money, and let's get it done. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how that kind of works out for Arsenal. But as I've said before, I think you've had a really good start. Really good. We're 2/3 of the way through. 2/3 into the summer. Really good signings. You've looked really good I think you've looked really good in pre-season as well. Like, I haven't been able to do reviews on the games because
there's been like, you watched our game.
I watch all of the top 6 as much as I can because I cover you all.
Oh, I didn't know you watched our preseason game.
I watched everything. Of course, this is my job. Like, imagine not being dedicated to your job. Like, what kind of weak man does that? Like, I'm more barring my kids. Like, nothing in my life gets more attention than my job, barring my kids. Like, that. This is it. Like, any grown man in my age that spends more time in the pub than working is a bad person. I ain't joking. But you guys have looked good. You must be getting a sense of confidence, because Arsenal fans are. You just did. I know how you guys are gassed and excited. You did record 1-day sales for your new away kit.
We always buy the kits, man. We always buy the kits. Radar shine.
Now, let me rephrase this. The best single-day sales of a kit in the history of Arsenal Football Club. So
I mean, it's a nice kit.
It is a nice kit, actually. It does look very, very nice. I don't do kit reviews. That's another thing I find weird on socials, like grown men reviewing kits. I don't get it. It's not for me. Each to their own, though. I don't like anime or wrestling either, but there we go. That's just me. But you, Arsenal fan, I know you are, and I know you like to hold back, and I know you get a lot of splinters in your backside because you sit on the fence. But there is a real sense of togetherness, happiness, and excitement about this new season, isn't there?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think we kind of talked about this last season, that this is the first group in like 5 years that any of us can say that we've actually liked. So it's a really likable group, and everybody, by all accounts, seems to be happy and on board with what's going on. Seeing somebody like Saliba in the team, I think, has given people a little pep in their step, because obviously that's a huge thing. He still needs to sign a new deal. We're still not quite over the line with that, but just seeing him in the team and playing well, I do think has made people feel like, oh, wow, this is looking good. Obviously, Saka's contract is important, but that looks like it's moving in a positive direction, which is good. So yeah, obviously we capitulated at the end of last season, and it would be nice to be talking about something other than Europa League, but we know we're building towards something positive. We can see the direction that we're trying to go in. So I think ultimately, when you can see where you're trying to go and the players that you're bringing in make sense, they seem happy to be there. You can't help but feel like, okay, I'm excited for the season. This season for me is all about playing good football, scoring more goals, getting more points, and really trying to push, for the top 4. Again, that's where I kind of think we are at. Maybe win a trophy. And I think that's all within our grasp. I don't think it's like far-fetched to really think about those things. So yeah, I am excited about the new season. I'm always excited about the new season. That's just what being a fan is like, right? I think even Everton fans and fans that don't have great teams are always a little bit excited inside, right? So it is what it is. But we do look okay in preseason. I still have some concerns. We have some injury prone players that are starting to really piss me off. But other than that, looking all right. Looking all right. Yeah.
Look, you are right. Everybody gets excited about the start of the season. And I think both our clubs are in a similar position in relation to we need to start the season well, I think. I mean, Arsenal have in recent time, last year was, of course, the run of fixtures, the players that were missing and everything else, like losing those opening 3 games, essentially, when you look back, 9 points is a lot of points. And to get to your 4th game and be on 0 points is always kind of demoralizing. It sets certain fans off on the wrong way. I think if Arsenal can start this season, in their opening 3 games, walking away with, I'm just going to say 7 points, just to be nice. I think there'll be a real sense of togetherness. There's a good feeling going around at the club, and it's funny, really, because I've been praising Arsenal a lot recently, and I'm getting a lot of comments. Terry's a secret Arsenal fan. So I've gone from being a secret Chelsea to a secret Liverpool to a secret Arsenal fan now in the space of 7 or 8 months, just because I'm praising them. And I think Arsenal in a really good space, but I don't know what that means in terms of where they're going to finish, because I think Chelsea are going to be so much better than last year. Tottenham's business has been excellent, and they've got Antonio Conte. I mean, Arsenal I think it's going to be an absolute barnstormer of a season. I think it's going to be out of this world. Trials, tribulations, ups and downs, great moments, bad moments. And I think Arsenal are going to be essentially in that mix. There's some questions here I want to go to. First one's a comment that says, Jess, the lady that gets more beautiful every time she comes on the show, is what Khan Chowdhury.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. Thank you.
Lang and Sweet says, Terry, stop gassing Chelsea. Koulibaly and Kimpembe are not even better than John Stones.
I'm never going to gas Chelsea again. After last season, I will never back them again to do anything ever. Like, they were not disappointing, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought they were going to be really good, and they were
I hear
like,
you. All right. I hear you. Harrison, we'll go to Harrison's in a minute. So I'll go back to this one. Sorry, Jess, All or Nothing trailer is out. Get ready to get roasted, is what Marcy's got to say there. Yeah,
fair enough. When All or Nothing came out for Spurs, I was all on that with my popcorn. So I know rivals would do the same, but I'm actually really excited about it. So, and a lot of Arsenal fans are. So
I used to watch All or Nothing with
it.
I used to watch it All or Nothing with the NFL teams because I didn't know how their seasons went. So it was more exciting. The issue I have with the Premier League teams is you know how the season went. And I don't know why, for me, it takes something away from it because I know where they end up. Now, you don't know all the ins and outs and background stuff that goes on, but I will be watching this one, though, definitely. Zane here says, question for Jess. If Arsenal sign another centre-back and Zinchenko, how do you rate the transfer window? And also, what will your expectations after this window be? We've already kind of answered that to an extent, but what would you rate the window out of 10 if you signed a centre back after Zinchenko and then that's it?
5 or 6. I didn't get my midfielder and I didn't get a winger, right? So that's not good enough. Somebody needs to tell Arteta to stay off of the center back situation. It's like his own form of cocaine. He can't stop snorting center backs. Like, you don't need another one. It's fine. You'll survive. So no, it's not good enough. My expectations are the same, 70, mid 70 points, need at least 15 more goals, go really far in the Europa League, get really close to win it. I want us to win a trophy, but at least get to a final, and really push for top 4. That's where I'm at.
100%. Cold Fries here says Saka to City. Do you know what's funny about this? I want to answer this, but I want to sort of put a prelude into this. It may not happen this summer, but you've always said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you think Saka will leave Arsenal. And again, unless you're the team winning the Prem and the Champions League, you think that will happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the likelihood of all of our kids staying with us is very unlikely, unless you're winning top honors or something like that. Like, I don't know Saka like that, but I think the assumption that he's just going to sit around and stay at a team that's not winning trophies, nobody does that but Harry Kane, so it's kind of like, I do think at some point he may decide, maybe he wants to move on. My biggest thing with it is, at the end of the day, we need to get what we deserve for a signing like that. I don't want them signing him for 50, 60 million. So he needs to be on a new deal, new long-term deal. And then if he were to leave, we'd be able to get a certain amount for a player of his quality. What I will say again is that it's very interesting that players like Gabriel Magalhaes and Bukayo Saka are linked to some of the best teams in the world quite often, but they're not that good according to football Twitter. Y'all don't know anything about anything. Saka's a great player.
Well, they do. Generally speaking, when a player is slammed on Twitter, it's because they're good. Occasionally, Maguire as an example, McTominay gets some stick, but rival fans don't slam Maguire and McTominay. They laugh. Rival fans don't slam Xhaka. They laugh. When on football Twitter, if your player's being slagged off, it's because he's good. Like, it's all reverse psychology. It's like the boy at school that hits the girl that he fancies. I'm talking like kids. I'm not talking grown, like old ass kids. It's as simple as that for me. But I agree with you. Listen, I can see Saka in a City shirt. I can see it this summer. I don't think it will happen this summer, but I can see it. Would I, if suddenly the news broke, here we go, Saka to City, would I be going, oh my God, I am so shocked? No, he's a top-class talent with world-class ability, and City are at the peak of their powers right now. Every player would have their head turned. I don't care how much he likes the project, the manager, London. Right now, I'm even telling you now, there's a lot of United players that go, oh my God, it's City though. They want me. They would. They absolutely would. Like, and I think Arsenal fans, that's why the new deal is important. And I'm saying this as well. The new deal doesn't mean he won't leave. The new deal just means you're guaranteed good money for him. Like, that's why it's important. Nevertheless, the Loa here says, if Saliba was owned by Marseille and available this summer, he'd be more expensive than Kounde. Big plus for Arsenal under the radar. It's a good point. It's a good point. He would be very talented. But I'm actually really excited to see him play next year because there was by the way, I had a go at people the other day. I had a real go at people the other day because they were talking about, like, when I was saying banter on social media is becoming really boring. It really has become boring, and it's the same like nonsense again and again and again and again and again. And then I saw this, and I want to put this out there, right? This isn't the guy that went viral. This is somebody else. I can't find it because everyone's now copied that guy. But this tweet went out, and I want to put this up, where Troop turned around about Saliba. Saliba's in an Arsenal kit, and Troop tweeted, he's not here to play games. And somebody quote tweeted it and says, very true, he hasn't played a match for you lot in 3 years. That, let me just say this now, people, that's banter. That is funny. That is comical. Not History FC. Oh, you know what I mean? Centre-back FC. I don't know. Some nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Like, that there is proper banter. It's original. It's funny. It's a response to somebody's comment as opposed to just a generic copy and paste job from anybody else. Now, this guy is actually copy and paste it because I can't find the guy that originally tweeted it. I can't find his link, but you get my point. Sensational piece of banter there. Saliba's going to do some bits. Viewers, make sure you're hitting the like and share button. If we hit 1,000 likes when we're live, I'm going to gift. Actually, I'm going to make it harder. 1,250 likes, and I'm gifting 20 goddamn memberships out live on the air. 20 of the little son of a guns, but 1,250 likes. We could actually do that right now in a second if you all smash it. There's nearly 3,000 people watching to get that done. There's a comment here that I wanted to go to. We've all kind of seen this. Man United, of course, they want Antony. Ajax now seemingly interested in Ethan Laird. I've kind of already alluded to that earlier on the show, as we can see here. Some of the outlets are now kind of sharing this as potential kind of news. Man United definitely need a winger. This here says Ajax want Ethan Laird. We owe them one. Let him go with the buyback clause. A buyback clause. I don't think he's good enough for Man United, but let's put the buyback clause in anyway. Antony to Man United. How important do you think United getting another attacker is going to be for their season?
I mean, I think it's important. It kind of depends on what happens, I guess, with Ronaldo. Maybe you guys think you can rely upon Martial all season, but I think you could do with something a little bit different through the center, because Martial can also play out wide, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it does kind of depend on what happens with Cristiano Ronaldo. You also lost like Edison Cavani. So I do think like centrally there's a little bit of like maybe a spot there more than out wide, but you need another attacker. That's for sure. What kind of attacker that is, I think it depends on what happens with Ronaldo. But you know, my thoughts on kind of like Antony is that he's way overpriced. Ajax wanting something like 70 million for him is a joke. He's good, but he ain't that good. You know, like for context, like they want the same money for Rafinha, and Rafinha's the starting right winger for Brazil, and Antony barely makes the team. He doesn't have an end product yet either. So 70 million is like too much. But if you can have a make weight in there, then it makes it a little bit less like this is way too much money, if that makes sense. So yeah, if they want him and you guys want Antony, maybe there's a deal to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him taking 40 plus Ethan Laird. I don't. I don't even know how credible the source is. As I said earlier on the show, I think that they want Ethan Laird. I think we want Antony. Swap deals or cash plus players is a difficult thing to do. Ethan Laird would, if he knows he ain't going to play for Man United, it's not like we're trying to send him off to a championship team. I think there'd be a lot of interest in playing for Ajax. You know, they're a Champions League team. They're title winners. It's very close to England. You know, it's not a hard place to travel back home and see friends and family and stuff like that. So I think it's certainly something that United could maybe explore. But I don't personally see it being a deal that United could get. That particular deal is in that structure of it being something United can go out there and get done. But at the same time, I kind of feel like we need that additional attacker. We need a midfielder as well. I think we need that additional attacker. As good as we've looked so far in preseason, we have looked good. You know, the ball has flowed well. We've created opportunities. We've looked really, really decent at times. There's still this element of, will all these players be able to maintain this? Will they be able to maintain this level even before up to the World Cup? I don't know, and we've seen these players start seasons well and fall away. We've seen them look good in preseason and fall away. I think more is needed. I think the manager wants another 2 or 3 players that understand his style of football, how he wants to play. And look, the squad have taken to it quite well, to be absolutely honest. Like we've done a decent job, but at the same time, like, more now needs to happen. We need to get better. And I think players like him are very much needed. I kind of look at Antony and De Jong, and I'm getting to a point now where I think they're deals that we can definitely do. But if they happen, I think they're happening in the last week of the transfer window. I think that Ajax and Ajax for different reasons than Barcelona, but I think they are holding out for big, big money. And I think it might get to a point where we need the player to really push as opposed to us doing the chasing. And it's hard because Ajax have sold so many players so far this summer, and they don't want any more upheaval. But he's definitely a player we need to add. Having said that, like I say, we've looked really good. We've looked really good. KJ here says Scamacca would be a good backup if Ronnie leaves. I don't know. Do you know what's funny? Like, I said the same thing about it when Arsenal were linked to him. I was like, I didn't know much about him. The footage I looked of him looked good. I don't know though. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not a big Scamacca person personally. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I can't see it. Like, I think it's, some players look the part. He looks the part. But he's no better than like some of the other players that have been going. Like, so no, you're wrong, KJ.
I hear that. Michael here says, any top 6 team ever make a midfield of rubbish? Jones, Ox, Keita, Milner, Hendo, Elliott, Dunn, Thiago, finish ahead of them. That manager should be fired for life. Michael Ramsey, not a fan of Liverpool's midfield, as we can all see there.
Nothing is. That's so weird. First of all, did you even say Fabinho? Because you act like you don't have one of the best CDMs in your midfield. It's like this was done very cleverly to make it seem like you have like the worst midfield ever. But on most days, your starting midfield is Henderson, Thiago, and Fabinho. and that rivals the best teams in the world. So very clever, but not buying it. Midfield is good. You do need another one maybe, but midfield is good.
By the way, I don't think Michael Ramsey's a Man United fan, by the way.
No, I think he's a Liverpool fan.
No, he's not a Liverpool fan. He hates Liverpool. I don't know. I can't remember who he supports. I don't know, but he's not a Liverpool fan as far as I'm aware. At this point,
it's not a bad midfield, but go ahead.
At this point, we'll probably go for a cheaper option to replace Cristiano if necessary. Definitely need an attacker and right back. Oh, well. Yeah, listen, I think one thing I say about Man United, and I keep reiterating this because I think fans are getting too dragged in. We were never feeling all the problems in one summer, and don't let rivals or mushrooms goad you into believing we should. No one else is doing that. No one else is fixing all that. And by the way, listen, Spurs fans can celebrate six signings all they want. They're including Fraser Foster as one of them. Like, who I've never ever seen a club celebrate backup goalkeepers before. Like signing a backup goalkeepers so they've signed 5 players, right? Jed Spence and Basuma. Wow, very good talent. Everyone laughed at how much they paid for Richarlison. Nobody really wanted him. Ivan Perisic, would you want him at Arsenal? Would you want him at Man United? Would you want him at Chelsea? We'd all probably say no to that. And who's the other guy? I can't now remember. Who's the other person?
I don't even know.
Jed Spence. I don't even know. Jed Spence, Basuma, Fraser Foster.
Oh, no, wait. I forgot.
Richarlison, Perisic, and there's one other guy. Why am I forgetting who this other person is? I'm looking at Lengley. No one wanted him either. Like, my point is, Man United could have gone if Man United would have gone out and done Tottenham's business, right? And I'm not having a go at you, Jesse Dye. You're a great guy. If Man United went out and swapped their summer for Tottenham's, Man United's mushrooms would be going absolutely apeshit. They'd be throwing their toys out their pram. They'd be crying. They'd be whinging. They'd be moaning. Because I think Spurs have signed 3 really good players, and they've signed 3 backups, like for the here and now.
I don't even count like Matt Turner or Marquinhos in our summer business. Like, I don't even count them. Like, we have signed 3 players. That's, but maybe Spurs are not used to doing a lot of business in one summer. That might be why they're like, but the backup goalkeeper and Longley is definitely not something to be gassed about. Basuma, yeah.
And that's my point. And then you look at how much business, say, Man United have done, and you compare it to the amount of signings everyone else has done in the league. It's the same. And yet it's the same. And yes, we've got holes. They don't. But we are probably going to end up with 4 or 5, which is what I predicted at the beginning of the summer. Was told, no, we're never going to get anywhere near that. We're definitely going to sign 4. We've already got 3 through the door as an example. And I wouldn't, by the way, include a backup goalkeeper as the 4th or the 5th. Like, we've been linked to a few. I don't really care about them. Like, people are like, why didn't you do a reaction video to it? Who cares about a backup goalie? Like, it's not news. It's just an also run type thing. But
he is a Liverpool fan. That's what I thought. Like,
he is a Liverpool fan.
But did you talk about Ivan Toney yet? Is that a thing? Like,
well, we spoke about it on Sunday. Again, I'd like Ivan Toney at Man United. I like Ivan Toney. I like him as a player. I think he's really good. What I wouldn't want him to be. Yeah, I think he's really good. I think he's a really good footballer.
Oh, no, you don't. Really?
I think he's a really good football player,
yeah. Okay. Keep going.
So the point I was going to make is this. It's a risk a top 6 side bringing him in because he's never been tested at this level, and I'm talking Champions League level, so I get it's a risk. However, and there is a big however here, I would be happy to take that risk if Harry Kane was already at Man United. I'd be happy to take a £30 million risk on Toney as a second striker. But they're quoting £50 million for him. 50 million to be the replacement of Ronaldo is a no, because it's scenario based. And if he doesn't work out and you drop all that money on him, you've got this big hole. So based on the price and the fact that it's only really going to happen if Ronaldo leaves, I'd say avoid Toney. But if we had Ronaldo staying and they were like, we're going to bring him in and we could get him for £25 million, I'd be like, great, that's a great player to have on your bench. Like, young, good at hold-up play, good technically, of course, plays part of Frank's team, so he can play football to a degree. Then I'm happy. But it's a bit like with the Richarlison thing at Tottenham. I think he's a decent player, but I don't think he's 60 million pounds worth of player. I think they've massively overspent on him. And the irony is, Richarlison's being called brilliant value at 60 million. But then Man United buy one of the best progressive centre backs in European football for 45 million, and it's overpaying. It's crazy to me. Yes, it can rise to 55, but only if we win the goddamn league. Some more super chats have come in here. I only said that we definitely need another attacker and right back because we literally don't have a backup in those positions. Squad is thin, my dude. No, I hear you on that, but like I've said before, we're not fit. We're not gonna sign all and cover all the holes in one summer. It was never gonna happen before the summer started and after. One of the biggest reasons we had 2 or 3 players leaving on freeze. We had 2 or 3 people going out because their contracts were ending. It's a bit like with Chelsea. Chelsea idealistically didn't want to have to sign 3 centre backs in one summer, but with Aspie going, with Rudiger and Christensen already gone, they have to because of Pogba leaving, Matic leaving, Mata having to go. The new holes have been created because you've got 2 right backs already. Our coach's job is to listen. You might end up having to get the best out of them 2 you can, which is why there shouldn't be expectations on us achieving too much in terms of winning things. Remember, we're at the beginning of our process, not at the end of it, like other teams. So I get your point. You bang on, but I'm just quite relaxed about it, is what I've said. I've been saying this. If Arsenal had got Champions League, they'd have signed these man. Spurs have signed. I would be very underwhelmed. They need to make the Champions League count. I agree. I think most people would be underwhelmed if they got Tottenham's players. I think most people would be underwhelmed if they with the majority, not Basuma, not Jed Spence. The rest, honestly, if Man United were getting Richarlison or Perisic or Longley, I would have been annoyed. I'd have gone, oh, really? So I'm not gassing the 6 signings up. I think for Tottenham, they've done well. And I think Antonio Conte could be dangerous because of the squad they've already got. But when I'm comparing transfer windows with other teams, I think City have done better. I think Chelsea will end up doing better. I think Arsenal have done better than Spurs. But it doesn't mean I don't think Tottenham could be very dangerous because I think what they've added to their current squad is very good and they've got a top-class manager. But I'm talking more from the angle of, well, Spurs have signed 6 players. Why can't Man United? Well, because look at the level of 6 players they've signed. You know, they haven't signed 6 players of the level of Lisandro Martinez or 6 players of the level of Basuma. They really haven't, in my opinion.
But maybe that's up Lisandro Martinez, aren't you? You mentioned him like 3 times already, and we haven't even spoke about him.
He's top class.
Okay.
He's top class. He's top class.
Okay.
Listen, I've been told by you and the rest of the Gooners that your manager has brilliant talent ID, right?
Yeah.
Top class talent ID. So he was your priority defensive signing. So I'm just using Arsenal fan logic. He must be a top class talent if your manager who has a top class talent ID wanted him, right?
Yeah, but I'm seeing top like 3 center backs in the league. Nonsense before he's even kicked a ball.
From me, I replied sarcastically, but my point is, if you guys say that your manager's got great talent ID, you have to admit that United have signed a great player, right?
No, I think he is a good player. I said that on here. Like, no. I think he's a good player.
Why are you doing me out for? You agree with me? It's
because he's always your example.
It's like because we're talking about transfer.
He hasn't signed a Lisandro Martinez.
I haven't.
He hasn't signed Lisandro Martinez.
Or a Basuma. But have you seen Man United in preseason? Have you seen us kicking balls? Have you seen Man United in preseason?
No, because I don't watch you guys play.
Honestly, we look really good.
No.
We look really good.
Against Crystal Palace's second team. I looked at because I was like, oh my gosh, they're beating Crystal Palace. And I realized it wasn't Crystal Palace. I'm just joking.
On a real level, like on a real one.
It's okay to be excited.
No, of course. And I'm going to get to that. We look good. The ball's been moved well. Still loads of mistakes. Still loads of problems. But as Man United fans who obviously watch our games deeply, intrinsically, detailed every match, we are playing better football. But as I said on my match review, that's all well and good. But I now need to see this when the season starts and the games really matter. But so far, so good. Like what I've seen, I liked it. I'm liking how we're moving the ball. But the thing I'm most impressed with, it's not even the style of play. It's how quickly we're getting back into shape when we lose possession. That was one of my biggest bugbears with this Manchester United team, and they're doing it well. And listen, I want Man United to be good for two reasons. One, I'm a Man United fan. Secondly, because I want to be involved in what I think is going to be a brilliant Premier League season. Everybody's going to be better next year, I think. Again, actually, the chasing pack are all going to be better. You never quite know if the teams who have been amazing at the top will maintain that level. They may dip a little bit, but they'll still be brilliant. But I think it's going to be an excellent season, and Man United is shaping up quite nicely at the moment. And, you know, that's 11, 12 goals scored in pre-season. Only like one conceded with our main team out. We did concede a goal today when the kids came on, but it was all right. I'm enjoying it. It's pretty good. It's morale, as John here says, morale boosting. For Man United fans, it definitely is morale boosting. A comment here from Zane says, United are going to finish top 4 this season. Martial is banging. Who needs Ronaldo? Ten Hag ball in full swing. Little old Arsenal are the new Everton, is what Zane says. But that's not a Man United fan who says that, by the way. Zane, I believe, is an AC Milan fan or something like that.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm reading the comments. It isn't my views. Michael Ramsey says, read between the lines. Fabinho alone can't beat no good teams. Jess, you don't know football. That midfield of Fab, Hendo, Thiago will never beat City. I will never be a fan of Liverpool.
But that's not what you said, though. You said any team that finishes below that midfield or that manager should be sacked. You didn't say it couldn't compete with Man Cities or whatever. So now you're moving the goalposts. You know, your usual starting midfield is right up there with the best in the world. It can't be disputed. Why? Because it's been that good for the last whatever years, even when you had Wijnaldum. So it's kind of like, if you hate your team, but we're not going to let you guys make it seem like you guys are destitute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 110%. They're Liverpool are not destitute. They've got a brilliant squad. You know, they nearly won a quad last year. Suddenly the team's rubbish. No way. Trevor here says, Terry, how hard will you laugh if Martial has more goals than Nunez after all the hype? Listen, if Martial came back to Man United and had again more goals than Nunez is there's a perspective to it, because if Nunez scores 4 and Martial scores 5, it's still not a good season. But if Martial has a very good season and scores lots of goals, I'll be buzzing. And I've said all along that a coach of Erik ten Hag's quality will get 3 or 4 players you don't expect to turn their careers around, even if it's for one season. You go, oh, wow, look what he did. And then you might see them move on. We saw this when Pep came into City. We saw it with Klopp at Liverpool. You know, we saw it with Tuchel at Chelsea. We saw it with Antonio. Listen, this is how good Antonio Conte was. People were begging for Eric Dyer to be back in the England squad. We all know how bad he is, but in a system that works, the guy looked really great. So yeah, that would be a nice thing to see. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
I feel like there's a lot of agendas running right now, or a lot of agendas that will run like this summer or like this season. Obviously, Man United fans want to see Nunez fail. Arsenal fans want to see Lisandro Martinez fail. Spurs fans want to see Gabriel Jesus fail. You know, it's just great. Like, I love that part of the season because it's kind of like you're just waiting for the one time that somebody dunks on Lisandro Martinez and we're going to be on it.
you know, like that first game of the season is a cross and he just can't jump high enough. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be on. Or that first bad miss from striker-wise, Gabriel Jesus. He needs a goal in his first game or 2 and no bad misses. Like,
yeah, if he doesn't score a goal in his first couple of games, it's gonna be so bad.
Nunez gets put through on, like Man United Liverpool. He's at the 3rd or 4th game of the season. Nunez is through on goal to win the game for Liverpool, and he skies it, and United go and get the winner. That agenda is going to run for a long, long time, and that part of the season is fun. But that's why I want my team to be good as well. Like, I want to be competitive. But also, for the last 6 months of last year, I couldn't even banter anyone because my team was so bad. You know, it really is. Jesse Dyer here says, if Tony keeps this form, do you keep him in for the start of the season or bring Ronaldo in, assuming he stays? For me, Tony all day long. It depends on when Ronaldo returns and what he does between now and the season starting. But the season for Man United starts in 19 days. If Martial continues this form for the rest of the preseason and Ronaldo barely kicks a ball, I would be annoyed if Ronaldo started. Again, if Ronaldo starts and he scores and we win, then I'm cool. Because my thought is, I don't get annoyed about that happening because I want Martial to start more than Ronaldo. I would do that because I think we've got more chance of winning with in that scenario. It's all about Man United winning for me and not which players are picked. And that's what I've seen with agendas, though, Jay, because I've been on there today. There was all these Martial FC were angry that Man United fans were happy that Martial scored. It's like, bro, we support Man United, not Martial. Like, of course, I support him individually for certain things, but he's come back and he's working hard. Great. Oh, but you were happy to see him leave. Yeah, because he didn't want to be here. I'm happy to see anybody leave who doesn't want to be here because I support Man United. I really don't think people can get like through their skulls sometimes. Like someone said to me earlier, you don't own the monopoly on banter. No, I don't. But I get to say what I find funny or not. Equally, I find player agendas funny. Like it's funny if a Man United fan's got an agenda against an Arsenal player that they wanted. That's cool. But the ones we run within our own clubs, it's just getting boring now, especially when it overrides how you feel about your club. Like I'd rather Martial flop than Man United win. I saw that from some guy. Oh, I'm annoyed that Martial scored today. Some guy called me a disgrace for being happy Martial scored. He went, basically he was saying, I'd rather see us lose than see Martial score. That's just a mental illness to me. I'm sorry to be so harsh, but I honestly think people like that need to go and speak to someone because you're not right. Like, and I feel for you. You need to just go and speak to someone because that's not a normal way to think and feel. And if you like that about your football club, imagine how callous you are in real life. Jesus Christ. Another transfer story I want to speak to you about. This one took me by shock today. So Paris Saint-Germain have offered Neymar to Manchester. This has come from Le Parisien. They're brilliant. And they have said that Man City have been offered the chance to sign Neymar. The idea partly was a trade because they're after Bernardo Silva as an example. Neymar to Manchester City. I mean, the report also goes on to say that for now, Pep said no. One, why do PSG want to get rid of Neymar? And two, why the hell don't Man City want him?
Because Mbappe doesn't want him there. Like, I feel like that's kind of like the feeling, you know. Mbappe's running the club now, and one of the first players to go onto the transfer list was Neymar. Now, I don't think that they have beef, but like, you know, like I don't think that both of them can coexist. You know, they need another supporting player there. So Neymar, who, you know, I think Neymar has really like he he's such a good player. He really, really is. Like he has so much ability, but going to PSG, I do think slowed him down a little bit in terms of his trajectory. Obviously, when he was at Barcelona, like everything was flowing, and like now it just looks like he's kind of jogging towards the end of his career. Like you know, it's strange. He's not that old, but you know, he's no spring chicken either. So it's kind of like, you know, I can see why PSG want to move him on. You know, obviously amazing player, but they might want to do something different. But nobody's going to want him. Like that's just the truth. Neymar, as much as I do believe that players should be able to do whatever they want, lives a sort of lifestyle and is the kind of personality that is disruptive to like a team that's probably doing just fine. And we know Pep is all about his ecosystem. He's all about the vibe, you know, and everything kind of being Pep's teams are always to me like, or at least Man City has kind of always been a little bit about him, you know, and then the players just kind of do what his system wants them to do and all that kind of stuff. Neymar is about himself. They can't bring in a player like that and it not be super disruptive. And I actually don't think that there's a team in the Premier League that should take that risk. I thought the only team that may is probably Chelsea, but that's because they could probably afford him, not because that would have been the best thing for them. So it's a strange one because Neymar is one of the most talented players I've ever seen, you know, but his career, it's kind of, you know, for the international team, obviously national team Brazil, he's been brilliant. But club wise, he's kind of trickling down into like a player that people forget about, and that's not cool. But who's going to take him? You know, who's going to take that risk? I don't know. But he's very disruptive, and I don't see any team that has a good kind of like group of players that are all getting along would want him around. You know.
I agree, and I think the age of the superstar footballer who is also a prima donna, is dead. Because you think about Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, he is a superstar, but every day he strives to be better. Haaland, he's a superstar already, but you can tell what he wants more than anything is to score goals, win trophies, and be the best player in the world. Players like Neymar, I think, I wouldn't say they're a dying breed, but I think less and less of them. There'll always be players like Neymar, as in highly talented with a bit of a carefree attitude. But the way in this current era where systems, team ethos matter, you get very few rogues in a team nowadays. You get very few free roles in a team where you're just able to, there's always a famous story Sir Alex Ferguson told about Eric Cantona. And it just shows you the power Cantona had, but he only had the power because he delivered every week. And will Neymar deliver every week, or does he become a distraction? And he tells the story of how the story was told by the Man United players, and they were at this event in Manchester. And Fergie walked up to, I think, Lee Sharp and Giggs, and somebody else was there. And he had a go at them because their shirts weren't all tucked in neatly. They were looking scruffy. Someone didn't shave. He ripped into them about their appearance. He's like, when you're out representing Man United, it's full suit, clean shaven, looking smart. In walked Eric Cantona in a pair of shorts and a dirty t-shirt and a baseball cap on. And Fergie put his arm around him. Oh, Eric, thanks for coming. And just didn't mention his clothes, nothing, just loved him off. The players weren't put out by it because this was a superstar that wanted to achieve the best things in football. I think you can be a lovable rogue. You can be someone that gets preferential treatment. You can be someone that does what everyone wants on the football pitch to a degree, as long as you're delivering at the end of it. But that was in an era where players like that were kind of celebrated. I think we've become so system-based and machine-based in how we play football. I don't think your team can cope. And if the team don't cope with a player that has that kind of attitude, it becomes a problem in the dressing room. Does that make sense? I think a Cantona in 2022 would struggle compared to in the 80s and 90s when he was one of the very best players in the world. And the world has changed. And I think that's why Neymar on ability walks into the Man City team. But Pep knows he isn't going to track when I need him to. He's not going to get back into shape when I want him to. He's going to go missing for times of the year when I want him here. Is he going to train hard enough? Is he going to be fit enough? And if he's the highest paid player and the superstar of the team and he's not at the standard, everybody else will go, well, why should I? And you can't afford that anymore. You can't get away with it because the way football is so different. So, yeah, for me, look, I think Neymar is, ability-wise, is world-class. I think application to his career, he's bang average, as in application, not how good he is as a football player.
He should have achieved more. That's really the reality, right? I'm not saying he hasn't achieved, but when you have like that level of talent, you're expected to be on the same level as, the other guys there's a lot of people that consider Neymar on the same level ability-wise as like Messi and Ronaldo. But you look at the way that they apply their effort to their trade, it's nowhere near the same. So, I just don't know where he would end up going. It was always going to be difficult for PSG to shift him on. And I think the Premier League is the only place where they could potentially do that. But like, nobody's going to take that risk, I don't think.
No, I don't disagree. I think I'm not surprised Pep said no. There's always something about him. And again, people get so caught up in, but ability. That's a massive part. But there are so many other factors that can that overshadow your ability as a football player. Because Neymar compared to Raheem Sterling, Neymar's ability is a lot higher. But Raheem will do exactly what he's told, be there at the right time, work hard, and do what he needs to, and he delivered. I think Neymar would struggle massively in the Premier League as well. I think the physicality of the league, you can get away with, fouls are more frequent, the more hustle and bustle nature. I think he'd struggle and shy away from it. He doesn't give me the vibes of someone that's up for a fight. And you've got to be in the Prem. You've got to be able to take the rough with the smooth and be able to fight back. And I just don't think he has that in his makeup. I think he's going to end up. Yeah, I think when he leaves, I don't think he's going to end up in one of the top 4 leagues in Europe anyway. I think it's going to be much lower down the kind of pecking order, as it were. But Terry, Neymar or Salah? If you had to ask me to pick now for my team, I'd pick Mo Salah. I'd pick Mo Salah every day of the week. I think Neymar's more talented overall, ability-wise. Salah in the Prem, I believe, would score more, create more, be available more, and deliver you more as a team. And at the end of the day, I'm all about my team. I want my team to win. And I think that he would do that in abundance. Yeah, I'd pick Mo Salah. How about you? If right now Salah or Neymar to Arsenal, who are you picking?
Y'all know I love a Brazilian. It'd be so tough for me to say no to Neymar, but it's got to be Salah. I don't trust Neymar. I don't trust him. Like, he just is just this kind of person. I just can't, you know. We don't need any disruptions. You can't handle Aubameyang. You can't handle Neymar. Like, you know, it's just not happening.
Yeah, a lot of people saying Neymar. Tell us why Neymar. Tell me why Neymar over him. I want to hear your rationale and your reasoning, not just because I love Brazilians. You know, I know everyone has their preference of men, but yeah.
Don't be
there
weird.
We go. I'm just saying. I know you got a thing for Brazilian guys. Ain't on me. Do you know what I mean?
Is that what I said?
No, I'm just surmising.
Okay.
Wizard here says, I'm not jealous of Neymar. Sorry, I'm not jealous of Neymar. That never wants to play in the Premier League. That's what it's like in the early 2000s. The Premier League never had the best players. I don't get your point, though. I mean, the Premier League has had quite a lot of, you know, we've had players that have been in Ballon d'Or races. You are right. Like the Barcelona,
like the world superstars end up at Real Madrid and Barcelona, like we all.
Yeah, of course, especially stars from a Latino background. Like they grow up dreaming to play for those clubs, but then it's all about the size of the league, because you know in the 90s, Italy had a lot of the best players in the world, and I don't know who had the best players in the world in the 70s. I'm going to tell you, the Holland had quite a few as well. Like there's been like an ebb and a flow with what leagues have the best players. Interestingly, right now, like. You know, England, you know, we've got the best managers here. Got Haaland over here right now. We've got the likes of Mo Salah over here right now. We've got a lot of serious players in the Premier League as well, you know. So, but Barcelona and Real Madrid, they have serious pull. And the fact that they keep winning maintains that pull, you know. If suddenly Barcelona or Real Madrid didn't win anything major for 10 years, they would lose a bit of pull, but they don't, because they've got the monopoly where they live. Just in Chelsea are preparing. Shut up. Why are you telling me that for? Nah. Hang on. Where's that from, though? Right?
Relevo.
Yeah, I want to know what aggregators shared it. What are we saying here? I've just searched it.
They got you looking.
Yeah, they have got me looking. Yeah, breaking news in the last hour, Chelsea expressed a firm interest in Frenkie de Jong. Barca knows Chelsea are preparing a formal proposal. That is from Revelo. Oh, I don't know who they are. They've got a big Twitch account and a TikTok account. I don't know who they are, though. I've never heard of them, but I'm not discrediting them. But there we go. Honestly, I've said all summer. I think he will leave. Man United can get him, but if a big Champions League team came in, we were done for. Oh, can you imagine if he ends up at Chelsea? I'll cry. Oh, my days. But they've also said in their same report that Man United does not seduce Frenkie sportingly or personally, is what they've said. So that's an interesting one. What I do find really interesting about the Frenkie de Jong story is how the British press have reported like none of that. And like the Spanish press in the last 10 days, it's all been doesn't want them. It's really intriguing to see which way this goes. But yeah, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Listen, I've said all along, I would not be surprised if Chelsea were to land him, if Chelsea were to get it done and get it over the line. Like that's
and now I'm like, oh my gosh, go get Tielemans, because that's going to be your next look. You guys are going to be looking over our shoulder, looking at our homework, trying to figure out how to cheat.
But that's the knock-on effect, isn't it? That's a knock-on effect that then comes with these situations. The knock-on.
If Tielemans signs for Manchester United, he's literally the worst player I've ever seen in my whole life.
I'm going to say the same about Frenkie. Really, didn't really want him. He just did it so we could get Tielemans cheaper. But look, I mean, football is what it is. Like, I'd be gutted if that happened. But at the same time, it's what I've expected all summer. I've expected all summer, if a big Champions League team came in for Frenkie, they would beat him to us because of where we are right now. And listen, then though, this is the way you adjust yourself. You go, right, well, Tielemans is available or Neves is available. They're half the price. Let's go and get one of them, and then spend the rest of the money on Antony. Because if we didn't get Frenkie, but we ended up with Tielemans and Antony, I'm still really happy with my window. Like, I'm not going to throw my toys out my
not.
pram. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we're taking your primary. Imagine Man United taking your primary midfield target and your primary
You're like thing about primary, your priority. Like,
do you know what I'm doing actually is so because I stand by what I've said. I don't believe maybe you'd have played him at left back to begin with, maybe. But I believe that
okay, no, I have a point. I have a point. Go ahead. You take your point. I don't look like that. I don't look like that. I don't look like that.
You speak
No,
first. You speak
no.
first.
Okay, I'll speak first. Because I saw you on Twitter and I was like, I'm gonna just let him have this because he wants it badly. But no, if the alternative to Lisandro Martinez was Zinchenko, who's primarily a left back, what does that tell you about how we were going to use Lisandro Martinez?
So I've got two things to say to that. One, you also still two things.
No.
You never let me respond without interjecting because you know my point's about to blow yours out.
No, because you're still linked to center backs. So
you're still linked to centre backs, and your own words today, you were like, and my manager's got like an obsession, like a cocaine addiction to centre backs, right? That's what you said. So the fact that you've gone from Martinez to Zinchenko in that order doesn't necessarily mean they're interconnected. However,
come on,
I'm
Terry,
not finished. Let me finish. So you need to let me finish my point, and then you get to rebuttal, not halfway through.
Okay.
So let's just say I'm wrong, and he would be used at left back. I would be utterly fearful of my manager's talent ID if he'd scouted a left back who's played there 12 times in his whole career and got dropped from playing there ever again because he was so bad at it. So either way, it's an L for you, man. Like 110%. But I'm just winding you up. The reason I keep saying primary is this, the point you pulled on. Because everybody said to me the other day, like the same people that were saying to me, nah, Ornstein said that he was that he's a left back, so he's therefore a left back. Then everybody's pushing out this notion that Zinchenko was always primary. I showed them that Ornstein said that nah, Martinez was primary, and the same people legit tweeting me back saying, nah, Ornstein's wrong on this one.
Well,
that's
also,
what I love about
Ornstein also said that, yeah, exactly. So you can't pick and choose when Ornstein is right and not.
No, I'm not.
I'm okay with him being a priority, but Ornstein also said that he was going to be used as a left back.
Yeah.
So you're wrong.
No, I'm not being wrong. You're missing. You're wrong.
Come on.
I'm so sorry. You're missing the point. I'm just using Arsenal logic back at Arsenal fans to catch them out.
If Ornstein in that same report said he was a priority and we were going to use him at left back, then you have to take all of it. So I'm okay with him being priority, but equally, we're linked to Zinchenko before we were linked to Lisandro Martinez.
Fine, but again, you're missing my point. Let me explain my point so you get what I'm saying.
I'm getting it.
No, you're not getting it. So what's my point then? If you can explain it properly, I'll give you $5,000 live on the air. Explain my point.
Your point is that I'm trying to use your logic against
Why am I doing that?
I don't know. So you can win.
No, not so I can win to prove a point. I don't
That's
believe
the same thing. Trying to win, prove a point. What's the difference?
I'm trying to prove the point that people will believe any journalist on anything when it makes their club look good, but they pick and choose the whole time. I'm pretty consistent. I haven't ever said, unless I've been digging at people and poking at people, I don't care whether Martinez or Zinchenko are your primary or not. It doesn't really matter to me. I only threw it out there when Arsenal fans started bantering Man United fans over how short Lisandro Martinez is. So I threw it out there as a little bit of a dig. And then everybody was telling me it's not a priority. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You guys told me that Ornstein's right about everything Arsenal, and he said it was a priority. I didn't say it. I was throwing back people's logic back at them. However, away from that for a moment, what was I going to say next? I was going to move on to the point. I get your point. And by the way, my actual point about Lisandro Martinez, my original point was this. Even if you did buy him as a left back, let me concede that point and say, yes, you did. He would have become one of your centre backs. And the reason I say that is nothing to do with Ornstein's report and what he's been told by Arsenal, what Arsenal fans think. It's based on the history of the player. And when you research him enough, you listen to the fans that have watched him, the scouting reports on him and his history. He got played at left back and was awful. Got moved into a central midfield role, did okay, but still got dropped. It wasn't until he moved into centre back when he excelled and he suddenly become this player that lots of clubs were interested in. So the point is, he's never really been a very good left back, never been a very good DM. He can cover there for games or two, but he is a centre back. And I think that for me, that was the point where I was like, okay, I don't really care what the reports say. And I've said this to people before, Ornstein's brilliant and he ain't lying. He's telling you what he's been told. Just because Ornstein said it doesn't mean I'm going to change my mind and thoughts on a player. Like, if you read a credible journalist, Matt Law, if Matt Law tells you today that Neymar's not a problem, are you going to change your mind about him?
No.
That's
But
exactly
equally,
you agree
I
with me?
really think we get very wrapped up in positions. Very wrapped up in, well, he's a left back. Zinchenko is going to play left back for us, but he's going to play like a midfielder. That was exactly what Lisandro Martinez was going to do. So it's kind of like, I get the whole, like, statistically, when I look at his thing, he's only played there 12 times. Football is just so different. You got to update. You got to update your hard drive. You got to update.
I agree.
2022.
I agree with you on that. And the terrace community, I talk about that a lot. I don't really care about like the whole where Sky Sports put you as a graphic. I look at people's heat maps. And that's one of the reasons why I believe, and Ornstein, by the way, did say left centre back, stroke left back. The reason I believe that Martinez would have been used more of a left back, if you even look at the profiles of the two supposed alternatives to Lisandro Martinez, they take up different positions on the pitch. They play different. They've got different styles. They are so far removed from each other as football players. That's just why I didn't personally believe it. But I'm like that with everything. I listened yesterday to my manager turn around and say directly, we're keeping Ronaldo. He's not for sale. I'm playing for him next year. I don't believe him. I don't think he's
Wait, you think Zinchenko and Lisandro Martinez are like so different in what they do?
If you look at their careers, and this is what I base
passing is both of their primary strengths.
Let me just finish my point. If you look at their careers and the positions they've played and the positions and territories on the pitch that they dominate and find themselves in, there isn't enough body of work of Lisandro Martinez being at left back and Zinchenko being central or central to say they would play in the same way. Now, of course, let's see how things pan out. But I guarantee you next year, if we get to December, we'll have a little bet. We'll have a £100 bet, me and you. We'll get to hang on. We'll get to December this year and we'll look at the heat maps of the season. And I bet you Zinchenko's and Lisandro Martinez's heat maps don't look alike.
Yeah, but you can't do that because Lisandro is going to be playing for you guys and you're going to use him as just a regular center back probably.
But then
so
that
you can't really
that goes back to my previous point because when you it does go back to my previous point.
Okay, but can I rebuttal?
Go on.
All I'm trying to say is that with Zinchenko and Lisandro Martinez, their main like strength is their passing. Like that's what it is. From that left kind of spot with their left foot, they can dictate play from there. And if you want to control possession, both of them are probably really good for you, like in your back line, somewhere in your back line, somewhere in around there. If you're pushed right up, they're basically going to be playing like midfielders anyway. So that's what I was just going to say is that I think they're similar in that way, where I do think that Zinchenko on the ball and Lisandro Martinez on the ball are quite similar.
That isn't being disputed in terms of their ability on the ball. The point I'm making is people keep using Tomiyasu as an example. But by the way, Tomiyasu is a player that I rated when you guys signed him. Most Arsenal fans didn't. I said he was great. Tomiyasu has been equally capable at centre-back and right-back in his career. When you read up, when you research, when you go back and watch Lisandro Martinez in left-back positions and roles, he was really poor. He didn't excel. 12 games out of 230 in his career. My point is, I don't care what the report says. I didn't believe it. And I'm allowed to do that. Just because one journalist says it, and Ornstein is amazing, I'm like, I'm skeptical on that. The same as my point a minute ago. Our manager has just come out and said, Ronaldo's not for sale. Do you think I believe him? I don't believe him. Because people, it's a briefing.
I mean, there's no benefit for Arsenal to put out fake information about where they'd pay a player, though.
Well, I don't think they put out fake information. I think they put out, it was left centre back, left back, which is where the player, has played in his career. But I believe that you would have I think if you signed, there's more than one way to skin a dog. And what I mean by that is Man United this summer wanted to buy Darwin Núñez. We agree on that, right? We wanted to buy him. And he's number 9. We've missed out on him. And Ronaldo might leave. We're not targeting another number 9. We're looking at inside forwards because the club don't see somebody else who's a number 9 that's capable of doing what they thought Darwin Núñez or Ronaldo could do. You don't necessarily go like like for like. I'll use your phrase, binary thinking. Oh, we missed out on one player that played exactly like this. We'll sign someone else. There's more than one way to skin a dog. So I'm not saying that Zinchenko isn't the replacement signing, but I don't think you necessarily would have utilized them in exactly the same position. But the result still could have been successful. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat in many regards. You know, if you guys would have got your first bid right for Buendia would have picked you last year and you wouldn't have got Odegaard, maybe your team would be set up slightly differently because they're not exactly the same kind of player, but you still went for one before the other. That's my point here. That's all it really was. But equally, I just like to have fun with fans online because I love how people will like, this story has to be right because this journalist has said it. And the next day they ignore that very same journalist and say he's wrong. Like it kind of is. It is what it is. Super chat here says, Terry, you're shifting the goalpost. Your argument of a left back with Martinez is that of a traditional left back. We are talking about him being inverted. Everything is contextual. You can't make a statement without it. I understand that point, but I still don't agree with it. And you know, if he's playing, I think he would have started in the left back position. Now, he may have picked up positions on the pitch when you're playing that are where the inverted left backs at City and fullbacks at City have found themselves. But then that would just be a centre back who's pushing into another area. Like Jess has said, where Jess is right, is the positions you take up on the pitch are not always dictated by the position that Sky or BT puts you in at the start of the game. Because Bruno plays number 10, but he covers the right and left-hand side of the pitch almost equally in games, where you have someone like an Odegaard who plays in that kind of 10 role, but he drifts far more to the right. So although they play the same position, they actually operate very differently in it. So for me, I think that's my point with all of this. And my original point, by the way, I'm not moving any goalposts, is I didn't even say he wouldn't play at left back at all. I said he will become your main left-sided centre-back because he's better than Gabriel. That was my actual argument, and it's kind of been twisted into something else of people saying, well, Ornstein said he's going to be a left-back. Great, but I think he would have become your left centre-back. Like, I really think he's that good. And that wasn't a dig at Arsenal at the time, because when I said it, Man United hadn't even made a formal approach. And we just had Ben Jacobs on that said we may maybe not even be doing it because we're going to lose out. So you have to, if you're going to look at context, which is absolutely key, contextualize my comments when I said them and how much I was praising Arsenal for that business. It was never about digging Arsenal out. And people have strangely tried to turn it into that for some weird reason. Whenever I'm nice about Arsenal, there's always a small percentage of Arsenal fans that think I'm doing something wrong. It's very weird. So much fuss for such a small centre-back. It's very true. He's like a hobbit. We know that. Chelsea trying to hijack De Jong. Yeah, stop reminding me. Stop reminding me. Stop reminding me. The De Jong situation is confusing to me. Is he not leaving because he doesn't want to go to United or strictly because of the wages that are owed?
Can I give a little theory about this?
I'm gonna come to you.
All I'm gonna say is that, like, you know, with De Jong, I do think that, you know, there's always two sides to like every single story. And I do think that, you know, the English media are pushing, you know, he wants to come, everything's fine, wages. And then the Spanish side is saying that he doesn't want to go. And it's not just about like wages or whatever. And I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, that he's kind of open to going. He likes Ten Hag, but equally, we knew early on he wanted to go, if he was going to leave, he wanted to go to a Champions League team. And so the longer that it went on, it felt like to me, maybe they might have been waiting for an opportunity for another Champions League team to come in, you know, before he made a decision, you know. And if nobody had come in, then eventually he would have ended up at Manchester United. But the idea that he just is like gung-ho to go, I don't think is true. But also, I don't think that he doesn't want to go with it, like he's going to be like, you know, like Manchester United are going to have to put him in a bag and carry him out. Like, I don't think it's also that. And it's somewhere in the middle. It's a very complicated situation.
Of course it is. And I think the wages do play a big part, but there's so many elements to this. He will never come out and say it's the wages publicly because the fans of Barca won't like hearing that if he stays. Oh, you're only here for the money then, not for the club. He's got to say he loves it. Equally, I was told by a journalist yesterday, I was speaking to a guy at Barca who was like, a lot of people close to Barcelona think the whole other teams coming in for him is being pushed by Barca to force Man United to pay the deferred wages. There's thoughts that that saying that he's going to stay no matter what is coming from the Frenkie de Jong camp, even though he's open to leaving because he wants Barca to go, look, we need you to go because we need to get these deferred wages gone. Equally, everyone's going to look really stupid if he goes to Chelsea and then doesn't ask for his deferred wages because That kind of been this. So the British media are going to look really silly because they said that's the only reason he's not going to leave. If he stays and takes a pay cut, a lot of journalists are going to look really silly because they've said that he isn't going to do it. So either way around, this is complicated. There's multi-layered. And I think if Chelsea are officially, I mean, some people are sending me messages saying it's literally like a tier 3 Spanish outlet. Don't take it seriously. I've always said on here, we listen to everybody because you never know whose story is going to come out. That eSports 3 news that said that Chelsea put a new bid in. Everyone said they're crap tier. Now 3 tier 1s have confirmed what they've said. So clearly E3 Sports are not crap. they knew it before the tier 1s. So yeah, I think
I worry about people that just automatically assume that like anything that's not the main people that we know about English media side is just like bad. And there's some people within a publication that are more reliable than others. Like there are actually some people at like the Mirror and places like that people usually are just like, it's not real, that are actually legitimate. So you also have to even go and see like what journalist is writing it. But yeah, this could just all be a ploy for Barcelona. But like you said, this could easily go into like the end of the window because this is just so complicated.
Yeah,
What's your face?
No, just someone sent me a message through. Chelsea just had a £47 million bid for Jules Kounde turned down, is what TalkSport are reporting. So, yeah, I mean, that's come out in the last 4 minutes. So we'll see what happens there. You guys think it's odd how many times Barca and Chelsea have crossed paths this window?
No, they're looking over their shoulder and covering their homework.
There we go. Listen, everyone that's tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Great conversation, great challenge, great debate. Just always a pleasure to share the screen with you. Until later, I've got more content out later tonight, people. Tomorrow, Ben Jacobs is on the show, 11 a.m. So make sure you are here, 11 a.m. Ben Jacobs back with us. Until next time, take care. Oh, by the way, on the 3rd of August, no, the 2nd of August, Tuesday, Straight Facts with the GOAT of Straight Facts. Lee Gunner is back on the terrace. He will be here 2 weeks' time. Lee Gunner is back. So make sure you're all here. We want to hear from you. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless.